Savor the Moment, a conversation with individuals successful in culinary arts and hospitality from Savor Restaurant and the Niagara Falls Culinary Institute. On this edition, Bob Koshinski sits down with Lou Billittier Jr., co-owner of Chef's Restaurant on Seneca Street in Buffalo. Lou, I've been really looking forward to sitting down with you because you have one of the most iconic restaurants in Western New York, Chef's Restaurant on Seneca Street. And not many restaurants have what I would call a signature dish. And Chef's Restaurant, of course, does, which is spaghetti parm.
Correct.
And that's what Chef's is famous for. Tell us a little bit about your introduction to the restaurant business. I mean, there's a phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's what you did because your dad was a giant in the community, Lou Billittier Sr., and that's how you got in the restaurant trade.
It is. I started very early, actually. My father started taking me to work with him when I was probably 5 years old. 5, 6 years old. I've been there ever since. But yeah, he had me in the kitchens. He had me making meatballs and all different facets. My father's philosophy was you learn from the bottom up. You have to know every job. You have to know how to do it well, and that's what he did. I washed dishes and just worked my way up, and that's pretty much everything I learned. Pretty much I learned from my dad. He sent me to the Culinary Institute of America when I graduated from high school. I didn't follow that because I wound up leaving there to go be a police officer for a while, but I'm sorry I didn't. But getting this tour today of this Culinary Institute brought me right back to the CIA up in Hyde Park. It's just a phenomenal facility.
How important is it for youngsters or young adults, I should say, coming into the workforce today to have this type of training?
Oh, you shouldn't be without it. You really shouldn't, unless you're going to work at a hot dog stand. But any kind of real food service, you need the basics. You need to learn why things do what they do, not just putting something in a pan, what reacts with what, and your flavor profiles and your safety, all the safety factors and heating and cooling properly. It's so important in this industry.
You and your sister Mary Beth are co-owners of Chef's Restaurant, and you can be found in the kitchen from time to time.
I can be, yes. You don't want to lose touch. One of the things I've seen many times in this industry is, as restaurants progress, the owners get more and more disconnected. And you'll see with all your best restaurants, your Russells and your DePaulos and us, we're there all the time. We believe in hands-on approach because you can't expect someone to treat your business like theirs. It just, unfortunately in this day and age, the work ethic isn't what it used to be back 30, 40 years ago. So I try to stay in touch with it so I know everything that's going on.
I mentioned spaghetti parm at the top. Tell us about spaghetti parm. I know the dish was invented by your dad and Dave Thomas, who was a well-known local television personality, went on to Philadelphia. But the dish itself, what makes it so special?
It's a very simple dish. There's not a lot to it. I think the melting of the cheese is very important. We use a 1800 degree broiler to melt the cheese because it has to melt and crust, not just melt and seep into the spaghetti. But it's just something, for some reason, it's got butter, it's got our sauce, it's got cheese, and it's got pasta, and those are 4 or 5 ingredients that people just seem to love. I don't know why, but we've shipped it all around the world, literally, and everybody loves it. We get very few people that tell us, this isn't for me. So we've just been lucky.
I've had many portions, believe me, but I think the butter is a surprise to most people. They don't realize how much melted butter is in that dish before the cheese goes on.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of butter in it. There really is, and of course that's probably what makes it so good. Anything with butter on it always tastes good.
You have any idea what the calorie count is on spaghetti parm?
No, we've always been afraid to do it. The cholesterol and calories are two things we stay away from at Chef's.
Okay, so you not only can cook, you're running a business with your sister, and now you've decided to venture into franchising with a new Chef's location and with the franchises up for sale across the nation. Why make the move to franchising?
Well, we've so many years, people keep telling us, You know, I live in Florida. I live in Dallas. I live in California. I miss chefs. I miss chefs. You know, we've heard it, and we said, yeah, yeah. And finally, we said, you know what? Maybe now's the time. You know, so we're going to perfect this first one in Williamsville. That'll be the flagship store, and people can buy in, and they can own their own chefs for, you know, it's not a real high price, and we can spread spaghetti parm around the country, hopefully.
Do you think there's going to have to be an educational process for people in other states to figure out what spaghetti parm is?
Absolutely. That's our number one concern is, you know, us in Western New York know spaghetti parm, but what happens when you go to Sarasota, Florida? You know, what are they, you know, they learned about the chicken wing, they learned about beef on wick, so they're going to have to learn about spaghetti parm, and we've got a great marketing team in place that's got a whole schedule worked out that is going to be a national rollout to educate people on what spaghetti parm is.
So you're venturing into a new line of business. Your education, you learn. You always said, that, you know, the saying goes, "You're never too old to learn." And today you learned about this tremendous facility right here in downtown Niagara Falls, New York. And I got a feeling you've got some ideas already in your head about what you could do with this place.
Oh, absolutely. When I've gotten the tour, and I just was blown away by the equipment and the classrooms and what they do here. And I had asked already, I'd love to use their kitchens to test out some new stuff for our franchises. They've got big braising pans and tilting steam jacket kettles, things that most of us in the restaurant industry can't afford or just don't have. But it's nice that we can come here and use these to do some testing. So I was just blown away by this facility. It is state of the art, it really is.
When you get people working in your kitchen, do most of your people come to you already trained, or do you have to train them hands-on yourself?
It's about 50-50. We get some that are trained. You know, I've had several people from this facility come in, and they're wonderful because it makes life so much easier for an owner. You're not worried about, you know, showing them the simple things. They know how to handle a knife already. They know about sanitary stuff and food safety stuff. So it's always better. But we do get some young kids, and if I get someone that I see that I think has got a future in this business, I wouldn't hesitate for a minute to send them up here and say, look, you know what, go check out the course up there because you could really use it. I really feel, I honestly do believe that.
Well, that's high praise. Lou, you've been around for many years. As I said, you learned at the knee of your dad, Lou Billittier Jr. Your dad, and you mentioned some other names, Russ Salvatore, Dennis DiPaolo. We'll be speaking with Mark Croce. Why do restaurant owners become so much a part of the community that they're in? At least certainly in Western New York they do.
Well, you know, you have to give back. And I know we mentioned both Dennis and Russell and myself, and I'm not saying because we're Italian, but it's part of our culture is to give back and always, you know, my dad's famous saying he always taught me was, if you have a loaf of bread, always give half of it to someone else. And I live by that. I know Dennis and Russell both do as well, but because those are your customers. Those are the people that you want to take care of. They're coming to your place, supporting you. You have to support them. It's a give and take in life. And it's worked for us for 97 years almost now, so.
And you can't mention chefs without mentioning the Buffalo Sabres. You were actually a stick boy at one time for the Buffalo Sabres. Your dad adopted so many members of the original Sabres teams in the 70s, and that continues today. The alumni have become part of your family.
They have all the guys that I worked with in the 70s, and like you said, they were 18, 19-year-old kids, and it was normal. You know, sometimes they'd get in a little bit of a ruckus on a weekend, and my father would get a call 2, 3 in the morning from some of the French Connection members and saying, we might need some help, we're in jail, minor things. But they were always at the house, and we were always taking care of them because they were young kids. They were 18, 19 years old. So my dad took them in, and the friendships have lasted to this day, and the alumni come in a lot. Whenever I run an event or have something going on, they're always there to support me, and I help them out still as well when they've got stuff going on. So it's been a good relationship for a lot of years.
And another relationship which has recently come to light, and I think people will be seeing more and more of, is that the Hall of Fame member of the Buffalo Bills, Bruce Smith, had been a regular at Chef's Restaurant, and we talked about spaghetti parm. That was his go-to dish.
It was every Friday during the season. He never missed a Friday his whole career. And he not only would have a spaghetti parm, we made a special one for him because it was like a parm and a half. And he would eat a whole parm and a half every Friday night his whole career. So It was pretty amazing. That was after he had about a half a loaf of bread and dunked it in sauce first.
I guess it's the carbohydrates he was looking for.
I guess.
Yeah. The melted cheese and butter didn't hurt.
No, not at all. But I know I've heard him in several interviews, and people said, "How could you eat that?" And he's like everything. Everything was in moderation. That was Friday night was his cheat night for the week while he trained, and he came to chef. So we were lucky enough to strike up a great friendship with him over the years.
In closing, Lou, what is your message to people going into the culinary or hospitality trades today?
Oh, gosh. The biggest thing is you have to have a passion for it. If you don't have the passion, you'll never last, because there are very trying times. It's not an easy business by any means, and you have to be willing to sacrifice your time from loved ones. So many marriages fail because of the restaurant business, because you have to be there, like we spoke before. If you're not there to watch everything and make sure everything's perfect, it'll never work. You have to have a passion, and you have to be willing to sacrifice. Those are the two main things. If you've got those two things, you're already on the right path.
But obviously you found it rewarding.
I did. I found it very rewarding. I mean, there's days I don't think it's rewarding, obviously, but overall, it's been a great life for me and my family. I've made so many good friends and enjoyed so many relationships with people, so I'm very happy with it.
We'd be remiss if we did not allow Lou Billittier Jr. to sample some of the fine food right here at Savor Restaurant at the Niagara Falls Culinary Institute. And for that, we're going to throw it back to the Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs here at the NFCI, Mark Mastriner.
Thanks, Bob. I'm Mark Mastriner, Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs here at Niagara Falls Culinary Institute. I'm with Chef John Pope today. He's going to be preparing a dish for Mr. Lou Billittier. Chef, what are you making today?
Today we're going to make our bacon and zucchini pizza, where we make our dough fresh daily. From there we take our crust and brush it with a nice garlic oil. After that we spread on some bechamel or Mornay sauce, which is typically thickened with fresh grated Romano cheese. We top that with our fresh mozzarella, our grilled zucchini, which we grill with olive oil and salt and pepper just for some nice seasoning, and then finish it off with our crispy bacon.
Sounds fantastic.
It's going to be great.
That's a beautiful pizza. It's done in their oven right here. And why don't you take a little sample if it's not too hot, Lou, and just tell us if it's something that you'd come back. Now, I know that there's zucchini on there, and of course your favorite melted cheese, and there's bacon.
That's really good.
Not bad, huh?
Very, very good.
If Lou Billittier Jr. says pizza's good, you know the pizza's good. Lou, it's so great having you here at Savor Restaurant and the Niagara Falls Culinary Institute. I know the students certainly appreciate your advice, and I know that when you speak with them here at the Culinary Institute, your many years of experience will be invaluable.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an honor and an eye-opener, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to eat this whole pizza.
Savor the moment with Lou Billittier Jr. We'll see you next time.